Welcome to yet another episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, a series of conversations with CXOs over chai or coffee, if that's your preference, brought to you by ET Edge, where we talk about their lives, hobbies, interests, and touch upon various other topics. The urgency and pressure on CXOs as they navigate the COVID-19 pandemic has been immense. And right now, we are in the midst of the second wave. These CXOs have been constantly monitoring myriad ways to ensure that their respective companies stay on course in the new normal. The incredible demands placed on them makes us often wonder how they have time for family, hobbies, or any personal downtime. And let's not forget that they are mere mortals. This initiative by ET Edge is aimed to create a deeper connection with them and to get a sense of what CXOs of several prominent companies do when they are not in CXO mode. Today, I have with me Navin Singhania, Director Digital and Technology, Pfizer Limited. Navin, welcome to Cutting Chai Stories.
Thank you, Evan, and thank you, ET Edge, for having me here.
Okay,
Looking
great.
forward.
Wonderful. So Navin, let's quickly kick off this session by rewinding a little. If you could go back to the early years of your childhood, school, or college, was there anybody who influenced you in those formative years? And what ambitions did you have then as a teenager?
So, actually, my schooling has happened in multiple cities across the country. I have studied in Delhi, I have studied in Jaipur, I have studied in Calcutta, I have studied in Bihar. There's a small place in Bihar called Devghar. I've studied there. But I think my formative years, I would say, when I was in standard 10 and my father moved to Calcutta. From there, these are the known things which I remember now. So I was fortunate to get admission in one of the prestigious schools in Calcutta known as St. Joseph's College, Bahubaja. It is run by Irish brothers. And even the principal and vice principal were both Irish. And we were fortunate that the vice principal was our class teacher as well, Brandon McCarthy. He's there. He is now retired, of course. But he brought a lot of, and it's a boys' school, just imagine. Irish principal, Irish vice principal in a boys' school. It's like, very disciplinarian. And he taught us the value system. That's the one thing which I still remember. And he gave us power, like in standard 9, standard 10 students, he used to give us power to run the assembly. Somebody plays a good guitar, somebody is just able to speak well. He'll ask us to run the assembly for that day. And he will take us to old homes, do some charity work, do some socially useful, productive work, understand the value systems, how to respect others, how to respect women. Being in boys' school, we had to have that proper, and how to attire, how to dress well, and how to enjoy music, all those stuff we learned from him. And I think that was the time where I realized, it's very important to have value system in your life. And come what may, it is always important to have clarity of purpose. These are the things which I learned.
Sure.
And I think as a teenager, ambition, if you say, my ambition was to become a chef.
Okay.
So I wanted to, and my parents told me, "Hey, what are you doing?" And so I could not complete that dream, but that was my dream at that time, of course.
I can picture you in a chef's hat.
Is it?
You would have been a wonderful chef, at least look-wise. Navin. Navin, do you remember how you spent your first pay packet? The first pay packet that you received?
Yeah, so I joined Unilever at that time. It was HLM, Hindustan Lever Limited, as a management trainee. And I was interviewed for Calcutta position, but I moved to a place called Dabgram. It is a remote village near Siliguri in West Bengal. So I didn't know anything about it. So I moved there and worked just not knowing, young fellow, 23 years old, just moving to a company like Hindustan Lever and posted in a factory atmosphere where the factory is just coming up. And it was a office which was having asbestos sheets. because the office itself was not ready. And the first salary I remember I got was some 2,500 rupees. And it was like, wow. And
Yeah.
immediately I took some of my colleagues, and from there, Nepal border was very close by. So we went to Nepal border, and
Wow.
I spent all the money in buying perfumes, jeans, and had my Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was available in Nepal at that time, and not in India.
Right. Right.
So I finished all the money, and then I had no money to pay the rent or food for the next 30 days. So I called up my ATM, my dad, and he sent me money again. So I remember that's how the money was spent.
But isn't it amazing, Naveen? When you look back at those days, the small joys and the small pleasures out of a 2,500 rupee pay packet meant the world to us.
Oh, yes, yes. So I remember there was a beautiful quote. I was more happy when I was poor. You know? So
Mm,
like that. Those
amazing.
2,500 was my whole month's salary, but I could merely spend it on things, and and I didn't care too much. It was like देखा जाएगा. अभी तो
Absolutely
live life. So that was the motto. So अभी we have this habit
amazing.
of saving, accumulating for kids'
Yes.
education, doing this. And
Yes.
उस समय कुछ नहीं था.
Correct.
So that was the
Okay.
motto.
Moving on. Let's get into something a little more serious. Our
Mhm.
our generation has witnessed the VUCA world. VUCA, for those who don't
Yes.
know the entire term,
Mm.
is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
Yeah.
With the COVID-19 pandemic being a prime example of that, we've had the first wave, the second wave, and the third wave is probably lurking around the corner. Through this
Hmm.
entire experience of over 18 months to 2 years, Naveen, what kind of learnings can be taken forward from this crisis?
This VUCA, I remember I had heard for the first time when I was in Levers, and I had gone for a training in Worli. There was
Right,
this Gulita training center in Burli. It is, of
right.
course, now Piramal's property. And we had heard about that, and we were discussing sustainability and how you will tide if there is any crisis like this. So, and we used to worry, we used to think, ki in a situation where all that you learn in management school, training classes, will come to a point where you have to use that thing. It never
Yes.
happened. Like in our lifetime, we never happened. Right? And now, in last 18 months, you are sitting in your flat, looking out your window, and thinking, "Ab kya kare?" All your
Say,
learnings, all your trainings are just gone out of the window, and all you have to think about is how will you survive? What is
yes,
essential? What is non-essential? You never thought your education is not essential. It has been proved that education is not essential. It is not something for which you are surviving. It is we as a
yes,
humans have created it. So
yes,
and like in Karna in Mahabharata, he forgot all his education when this time was right to utilize it. So I don't think we should be in that position and forget all your vidya and then just die because you could not keep it for you or utilize it or make use of what you have learned in your formative years or what you have learned in your career in last 20 years or so. So I did what I realized is, there is no use blaming somebody else, blaming your government, blaming your company, blaming healthcare system, blaming the world in general, rather than thinking what I can do to contribute to the society or what I can do to tide over this crisis, what I can do to people around me. You cannot go and
yes,
control somebody in Delhi, right? But you can control people who are around you, your friends, your family. Do they need you? Can you provide them help in getting some bed because we are in healthcare industry, right? Or you can provide some moral support. Tell him, guy, I am there with you. So
yes,
I think those are the things which are very important, and I have done that. And you have to remember, if you have to come out of this crisis, you have to come out stronger and
yes,
be able to take something out of it, rather than saying, "Ki, ha, in our and it's 100 years. It comes once in 100 years. So it is one of lifetime opportunity which you can tell to your grandchildren. Look, we had a pandemic, and this is what we did during that pandemic.
sure.
So we have done a lot of noise. We have done diya batis, but at the end of the day, it's important to understand that if you have to tide over a crisis, something drastic has to be done. It's
Yeah.
very important as a
I like
community.
your answer. I like what you've said. It might sound a little philosophical, but at the end of the
Mhm.
day, that philosophy is very practical, and
Yes.
it comes down and boils down to the simple things that need
Mhm.
to be done, rather than get caught up in the noise and the surround sound. Whether
Yes.
you look at the Bhagavad Gita, like you said, it was when uh, Bhagwan Krishna Arjun was confused.
Confused.
The advice that was given to him, which is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, is do your duty, do what's in front of you right now.
What's in front of you right now?
Don't worry about the relatives, and don't worry about death, and don't worry about if pain and
Mhm.
whatever it is. So,
And
leave
who is
that.
at
That's not
fault?
in your control. Yeah, I think that's applicable today more so in the current situation. Thanks for
Correct.
bringing that up. Okay, on a lighter note, let's say things open up miraculously, and your
Mhm.
job, for all the hard work that you put in, Naveen, would
Mhm.
for your bosses, your MD,
Mhm.
your CEO gives you a surprise 2 day uh, paid break,
Haha.
okay, and to rest and recuperate. So what would you do with those 3 days?
In fact, you won't believe, 2 weeks back we got 1 week holiday, and our MD
Really?
called us up. Yes, yes, and he said nothing
Okay.
doing. Put out
Uh,
of office. All of you switch off your mobile phones and do whatever you want to do. I don't want you to worry, about office, about numbers, about digital innovation, what we are trying to do, some new software which are trying to launch. Forget about it. Do your stuff. So, and it's very challenging. People are worried. What will I do? 5 days
what?
holiday, plus Saturday, Sunday, 9 days. Just imagine 9 days without work in a pandemic, not going anywhere. So, but I think we did good stuff first. I actually divided my time. Like I said, early morning, you get up, do some exercise, go out, listen to the birds. Nowadays, there's so much quiet all around, and in my house, I can hear a koel cooing every day, whole day.
Same
It's
here.
a beautiful thing. Yeah, it was a mango season, I think. And then in the evening, we used to play cards. My parents are luckily here with me. They came before pandemic and could not
Wow.
go because the lockdown. So I'm
Yeah.
very lucky to have that. So I spend time with my parents. I play cards with them, 1 hour,
Okay.
2 hours with my kids all around, and the four of us play 28. And catch up on my reading habit. I have a good habit of reading. So I caught up on my reading, and thank God for Netflix and Kindle. Those two are
Amazing.
your saving grace when you're trying to de-stress. And basically, idea is to not think too much. I think what has happened is because of the social media and WhatsApp and news, we get too much worried about. Of course, there's a pandemic,
Yes.
you have to worry about it, but within and inside, you have to have calmness within you, so that you can,
Sure.
relax and say, okay, how will I survive? How will I make sure the community around me survives and not be
Right.
caught up in this? Ab kya hoga? Ab kya hoga?
Right. Wonderful. Great. Fantastic answers. Uh,
Yeah.
Naveen, with that, we move on to the next segment, which is a one
Okay.
word, one line answer. Okay.
Okay.
It's like a rapid fire, but it isn't a rapid fire. There are no wrong answers, there are only right answers. So it's a fun session. So are you ready for this?
Yes. Give on.
Okay.
Bring
So
it on.
any question that I ask you, please answer in one word or one line. If it's 3 words, I'll specify 3 words. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So Naveen, what's your favorite meal or dish?
Masala dosa.
Ah, wonderful. Uh, if you if your name were a logo, what would its tagline be?
Say la vie.
Ah, wonderful. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
My death date.
Sorry?
Date of my death.
Ah, okay.
So
Who
that I
has
can
been
then plan
your
better.
yeah, who has been your all-time favorite sports person?
Sunil Gavaskar.
Wonderful. Best compliment you have ever received?
Great transformation.
Wonderful. Which is you've already talked about a lot of things that you do, but if you were to pick one hobby or interest that you're passionate about, which would that be?
Cooking, undoubtedly.
Sorry?
Cooking, undoubtedly.
Cooking. Ah, wonderful. You didn't talk about cooking, so it's a new thing. Okay.
I talked about being a chef.
There you go. Yeah. I should have guessed that. Navin, would you rather know the history of every object you touched if you had the power and you were given this power? Would you rather know the history of every object that you touched or be able to talk to animals?
Able to talk to animals.
Which business leader do you look up to or admire the most?
Steve Jobs.
Okay. Which 3 words best describe you?
Hardworking, passionate, caring.
Wonderful. If you had one wish or had the power to create a miracle, what would it be?
I think this is a very easy question.
Tell me.
Kill the virus.
Ah, wonderful. Well done. Do you believe in planning your life or letting things just happen?
Letting things happen.
Okay.
I don't think too much about the future.
Yeah, that's what I've gathered through this conversation. Basically, going with the flow is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you trust someone until proven otherwise? Or do you think trust has to be earned no matter who with?
I trust someone until proved guilty.
Very interesting. Wonderful. If you could live in anyone's head for 15 minutes, who would you choose?
My wife. I can't understand. Who else?
I would like to see her reaction when this video is aired.
You have to expunge this.
Because not only have you answered the question, the answer is one part of it. But here the interviewer and the interviewee, given that there is a time limit, are laughing for 30 seconds. Oh my God. Wonderful. I think your sense of timing, the way you answered it, brought about the laughter. It cracked me up. Okay. What was your least favorite food or dish when you were growing up as a kid? All of us have that, this is something that I don't.
Lauki ki sabzi.
And okay, so that was your least favorite food?
Yes. My mother used to make me eat that.
Do you still hate it?
Yeah. I don't like it.
You don't like it. Okay. If you had your own talk show, who would you invite as your first guest?
For my talk show, I will invite a very good friend of mine, Tejasvi Bishnoi. And he can speak. I love his speaking. I love his ability to relate. I love his ability to articulate. I think he'll be a good guest for my talk show. First guest.
Wonderful.
My friend.
Just complete this sentence. Life is incomplete without dash. Friends. Wonderful. You did very well, Navin, on this segment.
Thank you.
Well done.
So do I get that gift hamper?
You get the gift hamper. I will put it on either to on the Times Group and ET Edge. They will send it across to you. Okay.
Thank you.
My final question to you. What would be your message for millennials who are prone to stress, depression, and anxiety? We've seen this even before the pandemic, and the pandemic has created a lot of uncertainty in their minds. What would be your message to them?
I think I have a kid who is 21 years old. So
Right.
the message I would give them is, they should reduce their dependency on smartphones and look at the world outside. I think they are too much on this, depending on social media, depending on living for likes, or reading too much into the likes have not come, likes have come. In our time, when we were growing up, we had no such thing available, right? We were just friends who will sit at in Calcutta, this thing which you call as adda. We just go
Yeah.
there and sit and do adda and come back. And I find they have got thousands of friends, but not a single friend who they can relate to, or talk, or take out their heart to. So my message to them would be: if you want to tide over this crisis, or if you want to, at any time in your life, if you want to reduce stress or depression, have one friend who is your 2 a.m. friend, who is your
Yeah.
pillar of strength, who will give you guidance, so that whenever these things come into your mind, no, he will help you channelize your thoughts and get out of it. I've seen so
Yeah.
many people, youngsters, committing suicide and getting into depression, not knowing what to do with their lives, getting into drugs. All you have to do is, and you have plethora of information available. You have friends, talk to them, seek guidance, and not be bogged down by what you see in social media or FB or Instagram. Don't live for that. Life is very beautiful. Enjoy it, and talk to your mothers. I
Absolutely.
think that's the best part. Mothers know everything, and I believe that and I see my kids also, when they go to their mother, she gives such a good solution to everything. Everything will happen. There is something better thought for you. God will give you something better. Don't worry. So they get hope. So mothers always give hope. So I would say, talk to your friends, talk to your mother. Don't be bogged down by social media.
Absolutely. Great. I think what a wonderful note to end this interview. Navin Singhania, Director Digital and Technology, Pfizer Limited. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you got to know more about the person and the man and the soul behind the job title. Thank you so much, Navin, for being with us at this interview. Thank you for sharing. We wish you and your family and your organization the very best going forward.